There we go. Everything is up and running. What was I working on? Yes, I was fiddling with the cursor. We're trying to get that to work in our game, and I have decided to not use the built-in cursor options we have in input because that seems to be broken. And instead what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the cursor as a singleton, or rather we're gonna have a sort of singleton that will be handling the swapping of the cursor type. Let me restart the client, take a look. Let's see what we have so far. The server have been running all night and there is no problem with it, and that's a good sign. Where's the client? There it is. Let's run this. When you start this now, I have set a default cursor to be the X, just so I can visualize it and see it clearly. And when I now connect, the cursor disappears. Now I'm not entirely sure why that is. I suspect perhaps the sprite image is behind the level. Even though I did set the C index, the Z index, to be higher. So I'm a little unsure if that is the problem we're having right now. The cursor loader, I think, is a singleton, if that's the correct one. Let me double check. Yes, the cursor loader is set as a singleton when you boot this up. It is then creating a canvas layer, and on that canvas layer we add the mouse cursor. And the reason we are using a canvas layer is so that we make sure that we don't scale the sprite, the cursor, with the rest when we're zooming in the camera and whatnot. And I've been having some trouble with that. I'm going to test without the canvas layer and see what will happen by not using it there. This way we should be adding the sprite directly on our singleton. So I'm curious to see whether or not it will be on top or below. Okay, now you can see the cursor, but the cursor is very big. It's way too big, and that's because we are using a camera that has zoomed in on the player. And the cursor is just another sprite we're loading. So we need to fix that. Let's see. So it seems to have something to do with the canvas layer, and that's why we are failing. Hold on. I am not setting the... Yeah, no, I am setting the C index. That's only done on the sprite, but the canvas layer, I'm not sure how that would work on that. Very strange. Let's connect and try again. Because now it's gone. The cursor is just gone. I suspect it's hidden somewhere, because it is here in our remote scene tree, but it's not visible. So I'm wondering why that is. The C index... What if I turn off relative? What happens then? Is it going to show? No, it doesn't show even if C relative is off. That's very strange. Let's try -1. I just want to see if it's lower or higher. It should be lower now. So we should definitely not see it anymore. Yeah, we don't see it. Okay. So there has to be something about the canvas layer I haven't set up correctly. So on the cursor loader, which is a node, it's a singleton node, we have a canvas layer, and that canvas layer has a layer. Interesting. What if I change that to 5? Nah, that is not working at all. Could it be that... Very strange. Wonder what the mistake can be. So when we start our application, we hide the mouse cursor and we replace it with our sprite. And that works in the menu. But once you load the world in, it just seems to be disappearing. Let's see, what if I hide the world? Can I hide this somehow? Let's see, I can do that to the right. What can I hide? We have a canvas layer on the world as well. And that's the one that displays the debug information. And the idea of using a canvas layer is, like I mentioned, that we don't want to zoom in. When we zoom in on the world, the canvas layer is going to remain unaffected. I cannot see any differences in the values. Look, disregard this one. Inherit. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. The only difference is the contents. Here we have a control node with a debug view, but here it doesn't seem to want to. It doesn't want to work. Strangely enough, am I not updating this? Well, I'm definitely updating that. You can see that on the position on the node 2D. Hopefully. So something is up. Hide parent. No, that's not right. So what is hiding it? I guess that's a big question. Let's hide some things. Okay. So even if I hide the tile map, it's not visible. That may indicate something else. What happens if I go to 0, 0? We have to go quite a while now in order to get there. Might as well turn on the tile maps again. So we are in the middle of an ocean. Well, that's great. So what I'm doing right now is I'm walking towards the 0, 0 coordinate. Because I have some suspicions that the canvas layer and sprite is not, well, correct. And I also suspect the positioning of the sprite may be relative. So when I'm setting the sprite position on the canvas, I think it's pretty much going into space. So instead of setting the mouse position as these coordinates, I should probably be using the relative screen size at all times. And I suspect that's the cause. And the quickest way to find that out is just to walk down to 0, 0. I'm almost there now. Huh. That's a bit strange. I'll have to look into that later. Okay, almost there. Okay, here we are, 0, 0. Ah, did you see that? I saw the mouse for a second. For a short second I saw the mouse on the screen. On the top left side. There. Yeah, I was right. The cursor is not using the correct position. We have to set the relative position to the screen itself. And that will make it a little bit difficult? Maybe? No, should be just get the screen position. So instead of using the global, we should hopefully be able to use get mouse position. I'm hoping. The local one. Let's try it out and see if that works. Well, it doesn't work quite the way we want it to. Yeah, we have to figure out how to get that. Let's see. The mouse position moves, right? But the canvas layer does not. So what I should probably do is get the mouse position on the canvas layer. Can I do that? Can I use the canvas layer to get mouse something? Nah. Let's see if we can find some information about that. Canvas layer. Mouse position. Custom viewport. I mean, it is a viewport. Can I use that? Default viewport. Let's just search for this information. There is probably something about this. Canvas layer, get mouse position. Godot Engine. That should hopefully tell us something we can use. Input event mouse motion and button. I don't think that's what I'm looking for, is it? Get viewport. Hold on. Get viewport. Let's try get viewport. Maybe that'll work. Let's see the client cursor loader. Get viewpoint. Mouse position. If that works, that would be great. Excellent, we got it. We now have a mouse that won't scale when you zoom in and out, so it will remain consistent. That's a good thing. So having that done, let's set the correct mouse by default. Draw cursor. Yeah, right now I'm drawing the cursor. Well, I'm not drawing the cursor as much as setting the position. Update cursor position. So where am I setting the default cursor right now? I'm setting the cursor somewhere, right? Now where is that? I'm using the aim cursor, so it has to be somewhere here. On ready. Huh. Might as well set this directly in here. What else? Mouse position, cursor, texture. Ah, there it is. Okay. So this is where we want to set the default cursor image. I probably don't need C index 100. I can probably not set it at all and get away with it. So the scaling prevents the cursor from increasing. I probably don't need this as well anymore. Let's try this. See, yeah, that seems good. I do have to fix the positioning of the hotspot, but overall it seems to be working just fine. So how are we going to set the hotspot of this? Well, I guess I can just not hide the mouse and I'll see both of them at the same time. Yeah, this is not what we want. Now there is a property, I believe, we can set. We have offset centered. Let's try to undo that on the what's the name? Cursor loader, that's the name. So if you want to offset it, where's the texture loader? It's right here. Should probably set these everywhere. The settings of these. I guess I can use it to do that here. Let's see. Setup, cursor, hotspots. And in this function, we shall be making sure that everything is positioned correctly. That also means I'm going to be replacing, well, I don't need to replace these. These can remain this way, and what I do here is just get the offset. Hold on, those are textures though, not sprites. But there's probably some sort of offset here, isn't it? It's a base for other resources. What does a custom mouse cursor take? It takes in a resource. Isn't a sprite a resource? Sprite frames. Ah, well that sucks. I could set the positions manually by taking in account of the differences we would need when setting each one of them. But that would be a pain. It would seem that, you know, you would think it would be easier not to do that. So you set the cursor image, and then we update the cursor position in the process. So if I'm going to use this, I will need to create some additional information for each and one of these. So if we have the default cursor, we use a specific set of positions by a little bit. Let's see. Let's create an inner class. What shall we name this? Cursor properties, perhaps. Cursor data. Yeah, cursor data. And what do we want? We need the image of the cursor. Whatever that image is, we don't know. But it's supposed to be a texture. What else do we need? What else do we need? We do need to identify what it is. Is it a cross? Is it an arrow, pointing hand, whatever? To be honest, I don't really know if we need to do this. I guess it's a good thing to do, perhaps. But either way, this is stored as an integer, so this will be a cursor type, I guess. What else do we need? Hold on, can I cast this as the enum? Because on the input, these are enums. I believe they are cursor shape enum, if I'm not completely mistaken. This one. Can I use this? Let's try it out. Okay. Yeah, cursor shape isn't a valid type. How about input dot cursor shape? Is that gonna work? Load. Update cursor. An update cursor is going to do what? It's going to be doing this job, I guess. Yeah, this doesn't work, so I'm going to set this to an integer. Cursor shape. And add a comment. What is supposed to be there? Let's see. Get viewport isn't declared in the current class. Okay, that means we have to send it in there. Or possibly not do this. What we really need from all this is an offset for each and one of these types. And then set up the types somewhere here. How would I do that? How about a already var default cursor, which is of a type cursor data, which we're going to be setting what? Cursor data new and some values. What values would that be? We could put the image here. And possibly a type. So perhaps this is the arrow type, which is the default type. Hello, sir! And hello, AI, welcome back. Nice of you both of you to drop by today. We're continuing our project and trying to set up the cursors now. We are doing it manually via a script. So right now I'm just trying to find a clean way to set the correct mouse positions. Because each image has a different hotspot. When I say hotspot, I mean the tip of the cursor, of the arrow, where you're supposed to click. The cursor obviously is not, I mean, it's not difficult. This is not difficult, but I'm just trying to do it in such a way that it will be easier for us to maintain this. And that's the difficult part. So I'm kind of drafting a class to keep this data we may need. So what would the offset be for a default cursor? Let's see, I'm thinking it's minus 16 minus 16 because the sprite size is 32 times 32. If I open this, you see when I click, it behaves as if the cursor is down here. I think, hold on. Oh, let me check that out. Maybe I remember it wrong. Maybe it wasn't centered. Let's comment these out. Comment all of them out. Yeah, you can see this. It's kind of like in the lower right almost, but not quite. It's a bit strange of a placement, to be honest. So what I need to do is make sure the tip of the white mouse to fit the tip of the other texture. Let's try minus 32. Minus 32. That would be the top left corner of the picture. Now, is this all the data we really need for this? I do believe this is all we need. And having this cursor, how would we use it? Let's see, how do we even set the cursor right now? We set the cursor on this texture of the sprite image. So instead of doing this, I may want to do default cursor get texture, for example. How much time does it take to master a specific language? I have no idea. It depends whether you're good or bad. And how much experience you get. There's no answer. There's no way to answer that. I can say 1 hour, and I could be correct if there's some language that has 2 lines or something. I don't know. But more than likely, it's gonna take several months to become familiar, and then several years to become great. So we are storing 3. We have an integer, the texture, and the offset. Image, type, and the offset, which is a vector 2. And by default, I'm going to set this to 0. Oh, my bad. Equals 0. So when we initialize this, we take in the cursor type. We take in the texture. You know what? Let's name it texture. And offset. There we go. That should make that work. So when I want to update positions, how are we going to do that? How are we going to upstate that? So in the process, we want to set the default cursor. We do that by changing the texture. So every time we want to change, set the cursor, we do this. And then everything else will work. So in that case, when we set the default cursor, we're not going to do this. We're going to set cursor sprite texture equals to that. What is better? It depends what you want to do. I would not learn, personally, bother to learn C++ unless there's a specific reason. A specific library you want to use, or something specific. If you want to have a job, I would recommend Java. Then you're guaranteed to get a job. Pretty much anywhere in the world. If you want to work, if you want to create a game engine, then C++ is probably the best language. Now there may be new embedded languages that are in development. There may be new embedded languages that already exist but are new and therefore I don't know about it. I don't know. So instead of doing this, I'm going to set default cursor. I guess I could name it use default cursor. That'll be more expressive. There we go. Now we haven't created these yet. These are just placeholders for this point in time, right now. Well, I don't want to use this anymore. We do want to keep those though. Yes, I do have a coding job. Well, right now I'm kinda more of a support than a coder. In the current, with the current customer. But it will probably end up with coding once, maybe in a few months or weeks or who knows. Default cursor, add sprite. Hold on. I can do it this way. So prepare, add the sprite as a child of canvas, and then use default cursor. Okay, so when we now update the cursor position, we are setting the sprite position with the mouse position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plus the offset. So now is the question how I'm going to be handling this. I would like to do this. Current cursor. Update position is what I would like to be able to do. So whatever the current cursor is, that's the one we would use. Now that means I would also have to change this a little bit and set current cursors to be the default cursor instead of setting the texture. And then instead of doing that here, we may have to do that somewhere else. Now I would like the sprite to be outside of this. Perhaps we need one more layer called parent cursor. I don't know, just an example. And that is going to keep the sprite node. I get paid very well actually for the job I'm doing. I'm very lucky with what I'm doing. Sprite node. That's gonna be of a type sprite. We do need other things, don't we? How am I going to be just running update position? I would need to get the viewport somehow. And unless I have the viewport from this, it wouldn't quite work. So maybe I can send it in. So I have the viewport reference and set that. Hello Glenn, welcome. Thank you for dropping by today. We are fixing the mouse cursor, and after that we will jump towards fixing the chunk loading, because I have recently discovered a new and better way. Let's see, self viewport equals viewport. So when I instantiate this for the first time, we will setting this. But I don't want to do that. I do want to keep a cursor data. Rather a current cursor data, which is of a type cursor data. So when we update this, when we change the current cursor, how are we going to be doing that? I guess we can just do a func update and take in cursor data, which is the new cursor data we're going to be setting. And then set the current cursor data to be the cursor data. Right now I'm coding something called GD script. Now this here is named Godot Engine. It's a free, 100% free game engine that is really good, especially good with 2D development. And this engine has a language called GD script, which is a Python-ish language. Now don't let that discourage you if you're interested in learning this, because it's quite easy to learn and get into. In fact, once you learn Godot Engine, I'd say it's way easier to prototype and work and develop games in this compared to Unity and especially Unreal if you want to work with 2D development. Now, I cannot comment how this is with 3D because I haven't used this for 3D at all. I may someday use this for 3D, I don't know. Let's see, so when I update this current cursor with the other cursor data we want to set, whatever that is, we then should have access to certain data we may want to use. So when we then, update position, when we run this, how are we gonna do that? Well, the way we did before is we set this sprite. So using our sprite node, we need a sprite node also, by the way. Let's take that in as well. GD script, yes, that's the best language. That's not the best language. I mean, it's a great language for this. I have no complaints with GD script. My biggest complaint in the beginning while learning GD script was the fact that they have their own language for only this. Like, why should I learn this just for this, you know? But I am very glad I stuck with it and kept learning. It took about maybe a week or two until I got comfortable with this language. Maybe sooner. But at least within a few weeks, then I'm able to understand and use it without much issues beyond learning how to use the engine. Even now, I still have problems from time to time, as you would have with any engine you would develop games in. So now, if I were to update this, how would I do that? Let's see. I do have the sprite node, so I can set this from within here. I do want to set the position. And that position is going to be the viewport's mouse position. So I can just do this. And then we need to add the offset from the current cursor data. And we can just add a plus because both are vectors. And adding one vector with another will result into the offset. I don't know what currency you're calculating, so I cannot tell you. No idea. Let's see. But that should be enough for that. Current cursor. We have to create that. Oh, we haven't created that just yet. Current cursor is going to be the current cursor object, which we will just instantiate from within ready. Let's see. First, you prepare the canvas. We add the cursor to the canvas and then set it to be using the default cursor. But perhaps instead of doing it like so, I will use a current cursor, which is a current cursor new, which takes in the viewport and the sprite. And these are just references. We're not creating anything new. We're just passing in the address to those variables we have stored. I don't know. I think it's more than $60,000 in dollars, I think. But this is Norway. Everything is expensive in Norway, therefore you earn more. Let's see. So use current cursor. We now have the current cursor. Instead of doing this, I don't want to do this. How do we do this? Current cursor, set cursor. Maybe. I don't know, we'll try. I don't know if this is the best way to do this. I'm just trying to figure out a easy and maintainable way to do this. I'm just testing around right now. I'm not going to... I may not necessarily keep this or that. Let's see. Let's also remove this one. We don't need this function. This is redundant. So during process, we're telling current cursor to update position. Before that, we have to make sure to set the default cursors and whatnot. So in ready, we then create the initial cursors, which will be using the default cursor by setting the default cursor data into the current cursor object. So the question now is, do we have everything we need to run this? Right there. Sprite node, which we have instantiated and sent a reference to, yes. Get set position, viewport, get mouse position, plus the current cursor data offset. But there's something we haven't done yet. We haven't set the sprite node image. So when I update with the cursor data, we also need to update certain, well, data. Such as the sprite node texture, which we will get from the cursor data. So once that is done, that means we will now have a physical arrow that's different every time we change this, hopefully. Let's see. When did you first start learning coding? Probably a year or two before I went to college. I figured out what I wanted to do with my life, as you would say, or at least what I'm interested in working with, and that just happened to be development, coding, and that's when I started reading about C++ before knowing any language. And in hindsight, that's it's okay, but I wouldn't recommend starting with C++ if you're learning programming, because that may discourage you because of the pointers and the headers and all the crazy things they chose to do. Which modern languages don't. One disadvantage I personally feel with C++, I'm not an experienced C++ developer. In fact, I'm no developer at all at C++. It's just when I was playing around with it, learning it, having to deal with two separate files for the same data, like a header file and the coding file, CPP files I think it's called, was a inconvenience. Because you would think that when you code, you would want your code to be in one place so you can read the code and understand it. But in C++, you have to jump between them. I don't know. I'm not a fan of C++, but I would happily go into it again if I figure out I have to learn or want to learn Godot Engine programming. I may do that at some point. Maybe I'll take a 2-week project where I'll learn C++ and see if I can complete a few tasks on Godot Engine GitHub. No, not 18 years. I don't know. Maybe 6 years, maybe? 8 years? Maybe. I don't know. Not that many. Not that many at all. I'm curious to see if this works. I suspect I have messed a little up. Yeah, we don't need this, for example. This we don't need. All this is doing is just wrapping all the data into one object, so I don't have to have like 50 lines. Instead we have one line, you know? That's a real benefit from this. Let's see if this works. I'm curious. Let's run this. Non-existing function. Set cursor. Yeah, that's not correct. What did I use? I used update. How about... I don't know. Cursor data. I guess that's a fine way to do that. I'll rename that to just cursor data. Let's try it again, shall we? Here we go. I don't see any cursor though, that's not a good sign. Something went wrong. If I connect, will I see anything? No, apparently not. Very strange. So what's going on here? On ready, we add the canvas layer. Then we add the child, which is a sprite. Now that sprite has no image as of yet. Not yet. Then we create a current cursor, sending in the viewport reference, as well as the sprite we are going to be updating whenever we change the cursor. And then we set the default cursor. And to set the default cursor, we do what? I see, yeah, we need to update. We cannot do it this way, we have to update. So I'm gonna call update and pass us in right there. Let's try it again and see if it works. Well, probably yeah, I'd say, oh my god. Well, it works, but it's going in the wrong direction. That's not good. Which one is the real cursor now? This one? No. Yeah, this one, okay. I probably started coding about 8 years ago. I think that's right. I'm curious. Oh, that's why. Yeah, it goes in the opposite directions. Let's try 32 positive, because we're moving the texture down to fit the cursor, not the other way. That's a little better. It's a bit too much. Let's try 16. It's about half. That's better, right? Yeah, perfect. So if I now hide the cursor by doing input, set mouse mode to be hidden, when I run this game, it's going to be gone. Yes, excellent. We have a cursor. Now this is not the best cursor in the world. I would prefer to use hardware cursor. However, there's a bug or something that prevents us from doing that right now. So I'm going to be patient and just use this for now. My age for now, 32. I think I'm 32 years old. I am about 90% sure. I could be 33, but I think I'm 32 because I think I would remember if I was 33. Then again, I'm not sure if I'm 32, so who cares? So let's comment this out, and let's try the other cursor data. We need to create more cursor. Let's create the interact cursor data. Input, cursor, what? Hand, drag, help, I don't know. Move? Pointing hand. I think that's a good one that can be cursor data. So the interact, it's going to be in here, and then we have an offset, and I don't know if this is correct. I have no clue if this is correct, because I'm 90% sure I'm 32 years old. Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah. I went to college late, you could say. I probably had about 6 years of doing nothing, you know, working a part-time job, not knowing what I want to do with my life, you know, as most people do. Let's set interact cursor data as the default and see what happens. Oh boy. What am I looking at now? Ah, yes, yes. No, this is good. However, it's not right. It's not positioned correctly. We need to move it a bit more left. So let's try 0 in the X direction. and see what happens. That's better. Yeah, perfect. We got it. We got it. So if I now remove the original cursor, we should be able to see a little nice cursor. Now this cursor will be the interaction cursor. So when we hover over something we can interact with. Now that does not mean pebbles in this case. The pebble is not an interactable item. It's a pick-upable item. Pick-upable. You are 17 and started Python a couple of days ago. Nice. You're early. My Python, I don't know if there are any, I mean besides Godot Engine, I don't know if there are any Python coding libraries. Maybe there are, if you want to learn to how to make games. But yeah, learning a language is not difficult. That's not the difficult part. The difficult part is learning how to code, which does not depend on the language you're using. Assuming you're using a modern language and not assembly code and whatever. Something I wish I'd learned early on when I started learning coding was that you shouldn't comment code. And please don't take that out of context. I mean, you should only comment if you are unable to write your code in such a way that people are able to understand it. You know? Now, keep in mind, in this project, I'm not doing any sort of clean code. Because I'm pretty much going with the attitude that I'm prototyping. My goal for this is to get this up and running so as fast as possible. You know, while I do it properly. Making sure it works and so on. And that is because once I have a prototype and everything is tested, like the concept is good or not, then we will know whether or not we want to keep going. If we want to keep going, I will probably start by breaking it apart. Possibly creating a new project for this game. Making a, you could say a 2.0 version, which would be a, well, I guess the first 0.0 version. Let's see, Charlie SC30. I'm beginner to coding. I'm learning Java and SQL. How you learn coding at the beginning? Well, depends. Like, what's your goal with coding? What do you want to do with it? If you can answer me that, I may be and give you a pointer or two. And please don't take anything I say literally. Maybe, I mean, I cannot guarantee that anything I say is 100% correct, or even 90, or even 10% for that matter. It's just, I'm just talking from personal experiences, and your experience may vary, be different. Okay, so this one is correct now. Let's add the aim. Cursor cross. You want to be a backend programmer. Why do you want to be a background programmer? I'm not asking this to you know, insult or be decondescending, whatever it's called, however you say it. I'm just asking because I want to know, because it will help me understand what you hope to get out of it, you know. And money is a valid reason. I mean, don't be afraid to say I want to have a good job so I can earn money, to have a house and all that. That's a valid reason. That's not a bad reason at all. But I would like, you know, it's important to know why you want to do it. Just think of a project that looks fun for you. Yeah, that's a good idea. Glenn have a good idea. Has the right attitude. So the cursor should probably be centered. So let's try 1616 and see if this one works. Let's set the default to be the aim and hit play. Ooh. Let's turn off the hidden cursor so I can actually compare. You want to be a full stack developer? That's a good ambition to have. Yeah, I mean, think about why you want to learn something. I'm interested in C on databases, and I would like to become backend programmer. Okay. Interest in CEO and database. That's the I mean, to me, it's a strange interest. I'm trying to ask you why are you interested in that? What's your like what What drives you towards that? Like, what's your motivation? What's your motivation? Don't tell me what you want to be. Tell me what motivates you to go there, you know? Because that's will probably be more helpful. Now, the cursor cross isn't quite centered here. What is going on? Let's try 8 to the left. That's the wrong cursor. Let's try this one. 8 to the left, 16 down. It's getting better, but still not quite there. Okay, what if I 0? How about 4? How about 4? 4 is pretty good. Yeah. I don't know. How about 4, 4? Now we're getting close. It's still a bit strange. I failed to connect to the server? What is this? There you go. That was strange. Okay, that's this is better. But you can see it's not centered. Should I be 0, 0? No. Maybe it's centered by default. Oh, here we go. Yes. That is perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So when you're holding weapon in the game, guess what? This is the cursor we'll probably add. So to show you that you're doing something dangerous, and if you press it, you're gonna be shooting. After all, this will be a role-playing game of sorts. Well, who knows? Maybe people will make this into something else. I don't know. But now the positioning seems to be correct for all of these. What's the last one? The last is the hand. Yes, the hand, of course. Let's try adding a hand. Give me a second, I'm gonna change the music a little bit. It's a bit too calm. Let's try, I don't know. Let's see. I learned SQL first, then found it interesting. So I want to know more about coding, mainly backend and database. It's famous to CEO as a marketing promotion nowadays. And I want to hold on to the chance to become my career someday. Okay. Well, if you want to become a backend programmer, I would recommend I would probably start out with Java, to be honest. Well, no, not Java, Kotlin. Yeah, I would probably start out with Kotlin at this point, today. Because Java and Kotlin is what's being used nowadays. Now, unless you're a really big Microsoft fanboy, that's not the install, by the way. If you like Microsoft and Microsoft products, then you can go with C# and go that route as well. There's also a huge demand for those kind of developers. And there you'll probably be working with Microsoft, SQL, and who knows what else. Probably a lot of things. Drag? Yes, drag one. Now the hand I think is centered as well, so I'll try this. Let's comment these out. See if we can clean this up a little bit. Microsoft developers, yeah. No, C# is really good. I really like C#. I love C# actually. I'm a little sad that I didn't get a chance to use it earlier in my career. However, the first job promised me I was supposed to be able to, you know, work a little bit with C# on with the back end as well, but I never got a chance, so I got stuck with Java. Yeah, this seems good. This hand looks good. Center, you know. Boop. Boop. Perfect. No. I would absolutely not go with PHP today. We got stuck learning PHP at school, and guess what? They are 10 years too late. However, if you want to be a full stack developer, I would still go with C# backend or Java backend and, for example, React frontend or Vue or something like that, and learn to build the stack from the back end and all the way to the front. In fact, start learning Linux, how to set up your own servers on Linux. That's a really good place to start if you want to learn the fundamentals. Learn bash scripts. Learn how to, you know, set up your own web server. Good news! This seems to be working pretty well. So as long as the update position uses the updated cursor data offset, as well as updating the sprite when we set this, I believe this should be working fine. With these. It may be a bit overkill creating an object for this. But it's fine. Hey, no problem. But really, I would, you know, find an app you want to make, for example. If you want to learn coding, find a simple app. In my case, my first app, my real program in Java, by the way, was a command line tool. And that command line tool was a Pokemon type matchup checker or something like that. To check weaknesses. So maybe you have something, you know, something you want to make, like a simple command line thing, you know? Start simple, don't get surged by trying to follow a how to make an MMO in Java and XNA or something like that. Well, XNA I think is C#. I don't know, maybe? But yeah, start simple, you know, make small things, just learn. Put it on GitHub, don't be afraid to let people see what the code you're doing. Until you're good, then you can delete your old code and hide it so no one ever sees how it was. Let's see. We need to create a few functions. Use default cursor. We need a func use hand cursor. Use interact cursor. Ah, yeah, C#, that's what I thought. I kind of felt it in my bones when I said CNA. Because I remember using not CNA, XNA. I used XNA on my first, you know, my first 2D game. I think I used XNA. Let me check if I have a, do I have I think I have a video, maybe, of my old game somewhere. Let me take a look. Do I? Huh. Give me a second to take a look of the screen. I could have sworn I had that video. I'm pretty sure I have a video of my first 2D game ever. It would be cool to show that out. I think I have to log into my other account, maybe. NFL player, cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. If you can make an app where you enter your, you know, search for an NFL player and get some information that's that would be really cool. I thought I had a video about this. Hold on. I have many YouTube channels, so I need to look for the content I'm looking for. That's probably not this one though. Yeah, no, it's probably on my original YouTube. Give me a second to take a look. It couldn't possibly be here, right? I apologize for going off screen. I'm looking for a video. You made me think about it, because I think I uploaded a sample of that video somewhere. Ah, haha, found it! I can't believe I found it. Oh my god. Oh my god. I found my first game! ever. Let me fix the screen so you can see it. This here is my first 2D game ever, using C# and XNA. Turning up the volume on the sound a little bit. Oh, sorry. That was the first game I ever made. I think I got a good grade on that one, actually. Oh, I got 3 dislikes, really? My god, I forgot to like my own video. There we go. Cool. 2014, holy crap. It's not that long ago. So maybe 6 to 8 years then, programming. Well, now, there it is. XNA. Yeah, XNA is pretty cool. I remember not knowing a lot of programming at that time, and remembering that I felt that it was easy once I got it set up, you know, easy to modify it and change and do things. So yeah, C# XNA is definitely a good possibility if you want to do game programming from pretty much scratch, not without an engine. Thank you for that, Travis. I appreciate that. Let's fix the background music so we have some noise while I'm thinking. Hold on, wait. Did I have some? Hold on. I have some house music. Maybe that's industrial music. Yeah, that's more heavy. Let's get some heavier music. It's okay. Oakley dokley. Where were we? We were doing, yeah, the cursor. I think I finished this. I think it works fine the way it is now. So what we will be doing, we'll be using these 4 functions in order to toggle between the mouse cursors now. And all we do in the individual methods are setting the cursor data on the current cursor. I don't know, I could probably make this better. I can't think of a way right now, so I'm going to forget about it. And instead see if I can't get this to work. Did I set the default cursor back to normal? Default cursor, yes I did. Yay, excellent. We now have a cursor in the game. Hold on. Is the cursor too big? This might be too big, I don't know. We'll get back to that. We can tweak that later. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do it so when we hover over the pebble, I'm going to get a hand. I'm going to get a hand. So on the pebble script, when the mouse has entered us, we're not just going to show the label, we're also going to be updating the cursor loader dot use hand cursor. And when we leave, we want to undo that and use the default cursor. But for now, I'm going to comment this out and just test it to make sure it works. Is it a myth that Japanese Asian coders are better than everybody? I have no idea. Ah, it works. Excellent. Okay, so now I'm going to undo that. Like so. Now this is a singleton, so I can just access this object directly. Just something, you know, a side note. Actually, I think the country in the world that has most programmers is India. I believe. Hey, look at this! In the game, what's this? Oh, a pebble? I can pick it up. That's cool. Okay, but yeah. Before this stream, I discovered a new way to load the chunks. Probably a much better way than what we're doing right now. I'm hoping to be using the rest of the time today to optimize the chunk loading on our game. When I say chunk loading, I mean currently we have 4 zones. No, not 4. We have 9 zones, areas, chunks loaded at the same time at any time when you move around this infinite world. This world is infinite. You can go in for hours in one direction and get new content, pretty much. Yeah, there's a lot of programmers in India. For better and worse. The good part is that you have a lot of programmers, and programmers are going to rule the world someday. So that's a good thing for us that are programmers. The bad part is that by having too many programmers, possibly, it will push the value of programmers down, if that makes sense. Because why would I hire someone, for example, here in Norway, for, let's say, how much? $3,000, well, $4,000, well, $5,000 actually, a month here in Norway, when I can get a similar developer from India, for example, or any other country with a lot of programmers for maybe, what, like a tenth the cost, maybe? Like $300 maybe a month? I don't know. I don't know the specifics, but that's what I mean. That's not a good thing that we have this, that we are in this situation, I believe. Yeah, I keep walking and it works fine, but we can make this better. I want to optimize the way we load the chunks, and I have found a video on YouTube we're gonna watch. This video is 5 minutes long, so don't worry, we're not gonna be spending all day on this. And it's a video by Nesi. I would recommend to subscribe to this guy. I haven't subscribed on this one because this is not my personal account. It's not my Ivan Scotty account. This is my business account. But here he goes through a good way to handle chunk loading, as well as deloading. So let's take a look at this one. Let me turn the music down so we can hear what's going on. The audio may be at loud, I don't know, let me know if it is, and I will turn it down. It's 4 minutes long, so let's watch this.
So basically what I have here is a system that saves each part of the map as a scene and loads it as a chunk surrounding the player. For this example, I'm just using squares that display a random color. So this video is mainly just going to be an overview video. I'll just be explaining how the code works. So the first thing that I would want to show you is the world saved script, which as you can see is a singleton. This singleton stores the data for each chunk in the map in 2 linked arrays. Basically what I mean by 2 linked arrays is just that the elements that are added into the arrays are added at the same time, therefore they share the exact same index. So as you can see in the add function, the chunk's coordinates is passed in and stored in the loaded coordinates array, and an empty array is added into the chunk data array. Basically what that does is that it adds an empty array for a chunk with that specific chunk coordinates. That basically means that the chunk coordinates can serve as a key which is going to access the data in the chunk data array with the exact same index. As you can see in the save and retrieve functions, the coordinates are used to access the data in the chunk data array. And now for the node itself that will contain each part of the map. In this scene we just have a color rect and a label. The color rect is used to display the color and the label is used to display the chunk coordinates. Inside the chunk node script it has a function called start, which passes in its chunk coordinates. Then it checks if that coordinate has already been loaded before. And if it has, then it retrieves the data for that exact coordinate. And if it hasn't, then to add that coordinate and then generate a new color, and that color is then saved into an array. And finally we have the save function. This function basically saves data into the world save singleton and then deletes the chunk from the scene tree. Lastly, in our main world, we have the player character and the camera, and inside the world script, which is the script that handles the chunk loading, we have a chunk node preload, and a reference to the player and some variables. First we have the render distance, then the chunk size, then the current chunk, which stores the chunk coordinates of the player, and the previous chunk which stores the player's previous chunk coordinates. And now we have two arrays, one that stores the coordinates of the chunks that have been loaded, and the other that stores the chunk nodes that have been loaded. So on the ready function, we just make a reference to the player. Then we get the current chunk by using the getChunkCoordinates function, and then we pass in our player's global position. This function returns the player's position in chunk coordinates. So then in our process function, we check if the previous chunk is not equal to the current chunk, which basically means that the player has moved from one chunk to another, and in that case we then call the loadChunk function. So in our loadChunk function, the first thing we want to do is get our render bounds. Our render bounds is basically the size of our two-dimensional array, which is determined by our render distance using this formula. Basically what that means is that when our render distance is 1, we want to make a 3x3 grid, and when our render distance is 2, we'd want to make a 5x5 grid, and so on. Then we'll calculate the coordinates of each chunk using this formula, and then we'll offset it by the player's current chunk coordinates. And after that, we'll add it to the loading chunk array, which stores the coordinates for the chunks that are supposed to be surrounding the player. Then we'll check if the coordinates of the chunk that is about to be loaded has already been loaded, and if it hasn't, then we'll load the chunk. Lastly, we check every coordinate in the coordinates that have been loaded that is not part of the coordinates that should be loaded. Then we add them to the deleting chunk array, and for each coordinate in the deleting chunk array, we call its chunk nodes save function. Then we remove its coordinate and its chunk node from the respective arrays. And that concludes the code for chunk loading. I also wrote this project in C# and the links are in the description, so if you want to play around with the code or add it to your own project, you can do that.
Very good. Let's take a look at the project in the description. You have both C# and JavaScript, which is very, very, very nice. Let's take a look here. Yes, so there are several similarities with what we have been doing so far and what he is doing in the video and in the sample files. What we have been doing is, well, a lot of manual labor, which we probably should fix. Let's open our chunk file here. So what we're doing is, we have a server and we have a clients. On the clients, they load the world themselves. And that may sound scary. You may think, can't they cheat? Can't they, you know, break something? And well, yes, they could, but it wouldn't affect any other players or the server. Because it's still the server that owns everything. If a player wants to interact with something, let's say a tree that hasn't previously been, you know, chopped down or altered in any way, then the player on the client side will have to ask us on the server if we can chop down this tree. And if the player were to try to ask the server if he can chop down a tree that doesn't exist, well, it's not going to work. It's going to be no, you can't. It can't. And possibly we'll add some logging, possible cheater, who knows. There are many situations we will have to take into account in the long term. Let's see. So currently I have pretty much one giant script to rule them all, and we probably want to clean that up. We have remnants of old code, which we have removed. Now this code, which I've commented out, is the code that creates the environment. That means trees, pebbles, rocks, and so on and so on. And we have separated them a bit. So when we run the client and connect the server, what we do is we get the seed information, the server information from the server to our client. Hey, thank you for joining us today, Travis. Have a good day. And with that information, we then generate the world. And the great part of doing it this way is that we don't need to store the world in memory on the server, because we already have the seed. We have the calculation to produce that world over and over and over again. So if you were to have a let's say if you were to run another server and using the same seed, your world will look completely identical. The tree will be at the same place. That rock will be also at the same place. And the entities we're loading comes from the server. That information comes from the server, and that is what I really want to fix today. We can probably should also fix the chunk generation itself, but this strategy he has been using for for loading chunks. I'm going to use the same strategy, but not for chunks, but for entities. At least in the first iteration. We may find a clever way. Thank you for joining, Ajay. Have a good day. We will, well, we'll try doing that and see how far we get. Let's see. Let's make sure everything works first. I mean, I have a tendency to break things. Oh, I'm still here. I can go in the trees. That's good. I should probably remove the collision shape here. Yeah, let's remove the collision shape. I don't want to see that. Let's turn it off. Let's run the game again. See what we have. Full screen a little bit. Yeah, good. There's a pebble. Now we cannot pick it up just yet, but we will get there. We have to do the same for the sticks and name it. And I may or may not do that for the tree as well. But it will not be a hand symbol because you cannot pick up a tree. You may get some information, so perhaps we will add a magnifying glass or something like that. Or maybe we won't do anything, I don't know. Also, I do suspect the cursor's a bit too big. And we do need to add some water animation. I have a list of things to do, really. We have to fix the cursor, we did that. We have to optimize chunk loading, deloading, multiple environment. Yeah, this is what I want to do now. I did write down the other stuff as well. Pick up interaction. Yeah, I did this one actually. I have created a factory to make the collision shape handling easier. At least on the pebble itself. But we still have the other things such as the tree and, well, a lot of other things. We have a rock, we have a tree, and we have the stick. Now the stick is the most similar to the pebble which we have made, so I'm gonna do that first and then move on to the rock and tree and you know, show a hint or a name, so something like that. And the same with the tree if you don't already have the weapon. Now if you have an axe in your hand while you hover over the tree, we're gonna change that to an axe symbol. But we are quite a bit away from doing this part, simply because we haven't gotten an inventory system yet. And that itself is probably going to take 1 or 2, possibly 3 sessions, 3 days. Let's see, let's close this one and work on this chunk. Let's look at the code. He linked a project we can take a look at. Chunk node, world save. Let's open one by one. So chunk node, it contains the coordinates. Chunk chords, are those plural? No, it's singular. It's just, you know, just a shortened abbreviation of coordinates. And chunk data, what's stored in chunk data? We have from the world save retrieve data. Yeah, this is cool. We may do something similar to this. Yeah, we definitely have to probably redo the way we do the chunks in our game. Because we also want to be able to change the environment. Not the environment, the background. So when we, for example, want to dig. Right here we have dirt. If I want to dig a road, there will be dirt placed here as well on top of the grass. In the best scenario, I would like to be replacing the grass altogether. So when you load the world, you first load the world the way it is right now, and then on top of it, you will retrieve the data, the world save data, which we have stored. So when you do something, that's what we store. We don't store everything else in the world, like this pond, unless it has been changed or manually added. If a player has added this pond, then it will be stored in the server. Let's play the music up. It's so quiet. Let's see. I hope it's not too loud. Let me know if it's too loud or too low. Yeah, I really like this idea. I'm curious to see what he uses this for. The chunk node, how does he use that? Since we are working on a multiplayer game, we may have to make, well, big changes. So the world save script. Add chunk, save chunk, retrieve data. So to retrieve data, you get loaded coordinates, find coordinates. Interesting. Okay. How about the world GD? What do we have here? I'm just loading to visualize a little better. Okay, we have chunk node, which is a scene. You have player path, you have the player. Event distance is the max length. Yes, he did explain this. Chunk loaded. That's singular or multiple? Huh. You get the player, you get the player chunk, and you load the chunk. So what happens in load chunk? Render bounds. Yes, you calculate the bounds. What do I think about Unity? I think Unity is pretty neat. I mean, I like Unity. That's I made a few games on Unity as well before jumping to Godot. However, after having used both, Godot is way easier to work with. I mean, the only downside is truly that the Unity community is way bigger, and therefore you have more resources, you have more tutorials and all of that. But using Godot is just easier, you know. Once you learn it and know how to do stuff. Let me close the window, it's noisy outside. Okay. Yeah, use whatever works for you. I like Godot because it's 100% free, it's open source, and not only does it work great for 2D, but I can also like support the community by, you know, using Godot and advertising for Godot and telling everyone you should use Godot, by the way. Yeah, there's nothing wrong using Unity. There's nothing wrong with that. Especially if you want to work with 2D. I have said to myself on several occasions that if I were to work with 3D, I would probably go to Unreal instead of Godot. Just because of the immense and huge, ginormous support it has. That would allow me to more easily make games in 3D. But except that, if you work in 3D, I would 100% recommend Godot. So what's going on here? What am I doing here? Why does this look so strange? Oh, okay. Yeah, back to the code. I'm kinda rambling here. I like Godot for 2D. Try to make more game and I really like it. Waiting for Godot for. Never wait for Godot. Just go away. Just use it. You know? Yeah, I would use Unreal for 3D as well. Definitely. But that being said, Godot is great for 3D as well. I just haven't been using it myself. Yeah, don't wait for Godot. Because you will always wait. You will never end waiting. Because once Godot 4 comes out, it'll be, what's next? Godot 5. You're gonna wait for Godot 5? No. Just make your game. And if a new version comes out, just either 1, ignore it, or 2, spend the hours and possibly days to port it if you have a huge game project. And if you have a good huge game project, maybe that's a good thing. To spend the time converting, I don't know. Because then it's worth it, because then you have something that may be something someday, you know. So what's going on here? I'm trying to figure out this. Render distance. Render distance, I believe, is the number of chunks around the center chunk, if I'm not completely mistaken. So in my case, this would just be 1. So this would be 2. Just be 2. 2 plus 1, 3. So render bound is 3. Ah, cool. A contest. Is it finished? Render bounds. How is render bounds used? Oh. If range. If x and range, render bounds. So this would be 3. If x, so 0, 0, 0, plus 1. So this would be 1, 1, minus 3 divided by 2. My god, there's so much math here. I don't understand. Chord chunks, vector, okay. Yeah, yeah, I mean, we're already doing this, except we are doing a more complicated, probably. Or easier, because I can understand it, I don't know. Chunky, what's a chunky? You take the coordinates is the key. If you're not circumnavigation, you return the key. Otherwise, you set the key X, wrap up. What? You know, I'll just copy this project and try running it and see how it looks. I am confused. There we go. Let's open that project. Let's see. There it is. Chunk loader somewhere. Hello, where is it? Am I blind? Oh, is it not the project? This is not the project. I see, okay. In that case, I'll guess we just open, I don't know, the calendar button maybe? Yeah, why not? Let's paste it in here. And see what we get. Prototypes, chunk loading. Okay, so you want prototypes / chunk loading. And then we move this in there. Hopefully that's gonna make it work. There we go, excellent. This is the world, it has the player. And chunk node, okay, that's cool. So I assume this is the main file, right? What goes wrong? Identify world save is not declared in the scope. I'll guess we have to add it then. World save. There we go. That should make it happy, I hope. There we go. I don't see a player though. Why is that? Okay. The cam is current, so that should work. That's strange. Oh, what's this? Identify world save isn't the really? It's not declared? Didn't I save this? Oh, apparently I didn't. I keep forgetting to hit add. Okay, now it should work. I hope. Very strange. Ah, okay. I don't see a player though. There may be an issue with the... Let's try C index of 2 and see if that works. No. Okay, so perhaps the image isn't quite right. Do we even have an image? We are supposed to have a box. But I don't see any sprites or anything like that. Yeah, that's strange. Why, I guess I'll add a sprite for myself. And guess what sprite we're gonna use? The calendar, apparently. Well, that's not what I wanted, but that'll do, I guess. Let's make it fit this one. There we go. So now we are moving as a calendar. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see if we can understand and learn this. Break the secrets apart. Let's see what happens when we go negative direction. That seems to be working very well. Ah, interesting. Okay. So what do we have in each chunk now? What's bro? Color rectangle, okay. And the coordinates, which just is, yeah, it's the name of the coordinate, okay. So when you start, you take in the coordinates. You update the text, which we can ignore. If the world save loaded coordinates cannot find this coordinate, which we have been adding to our start. Okay. You then color the rectangle, I assume. Yeah. Then you add the chunk to the world save. Okay, so if we don't have this in memory, we add it. However, if we do have it, what do? We retrieve the stored data, which is a list of chunk data. And that's where we add the colors from here. Huh. Interesting. What else? Modulate. Okay, we just had the modulate for this. So you're setting the color data in the chunk data. But this is not relevant to what we are doing, but I'm trying to understand the idea behind this, because in the chunk data, in our case, we may want to add, you know, entities in one list and, well, other things in other lists, you know? Or possibly in the same list. Now this chunk coordinate is the ID for this chunk now we are loading. So how is let's go to the world and take a look. We load a chunk node, yeah, that's where we populate the data. Get player chunk. So you calculate where the player is spawning. Chunk size 80. What is 80 though? Is that pixels? What happens if I change that to 32? What's gonna happen then? Aha. Oh, that's not that's not right. Okay, let's try 128. Interesting. Cool. Well, the idea is good. I'm probably not going to use any code from this project, but the idea is pretty solid. I like the idea of having a node for each chunk and then storing that data in that specific node. So when I want to delete something on the player side, I can just tell the player to delete that node, you know? I don't have to send a lot of unnecessary data, which we are currently doing. Let's see, let me see if I can type this up so we have a better idea of how we're gonna do this. So we want to, you know, create a node to contain the chunk data, right? Now there is one potential issue with doing it this way. We still have to update the tiles so that neighboring chunks will connect, so they'll overlap, so we get this smooth terrain. Because if we don't do that, we are going to end up with something very bad. Let's see if I can't get the project up and demonstrate. By the way, this game, it will be available on the browser. So once we get far enough for people to prototype this, I'll be more than happy to provide a link so people can jump in and judge for themselves and take a look at how crappy it currently is. Yeah, well, maybe this isn't the best view. How about the server? Let's go to the server. On the server side, I have a nice little window we can look at. In this square, we currently have 9 chunks. And each tile on the map, well, at least the background tiles, is using auto tiling. And that's what creates this smooth transitions. And you may think that one square is one tile, but that is not the case. We are doing a little trick in order to save a lot of, well, work. Because otherwise you will have to send, for each X and Y coordinate, we have to set this tile, set this tile, set this tile, and so on. Instead, we have about 9 tiles, I believe, we're setting at the same time. Possibly more, possibly 8 times 8, 16 tiles, possibly. Yeah, I think it's 16. So this right here is one tile with a diagonal intersection between the dirt and the grass, and that allows us to place, well, more tiles without having a severe effect on any loading or, well, computer. And if I were to separate the chunks without making sure that they communicate with each other in order to wrap the tile sets, we're gonna have issues. And that issue is that the auto tiling is not gonna work. It's just gonna place, well, tiles doesn't, you know, link together. I'm trying to find this one. This piece of code is what allows us to make the smoothness, the auto tiling. So if I were to comment that out, our map is going to look horrible, like so. So this is the initial tile we are placing on all the, well, separate tiles. And when we tell it to auto tile itself by updating the bitmask region, and the bitmask region is just a little, well, it tells it when and who to connect with. So if this tile is next to this tile, we will know what to draw. If this tile is next to 3 other tiles or 4 other tiles, it will know which shape to take, and so on. And that's why we have to run this at the end of our job. After we place the tiles, then we update the region so it, well, merges it all together. Like so. And we like it this way. This looks nice, you know? So if I were to add region though, I'd really like the idea of separating this into region, and that's what we're going to try to do. Before I do that, I'm going to be committing whatever I have, just to make sure I don't lose any data. Because what I have so far, I'm pretty happy with. There we go. Okay, let's see. How are we gonna clean this up? So this is our main tile scene. This is, by the way, on the server side. We're gonna work on the server until we have something we can use. And I will be using the local chunk scene, and that allows us to run it ourselves and make sure it works as expected before we then move on adding it to the client side. Because we need to build this on the server side as well as the client side, so the server knows what to expect using this seed, and that's what allows us to save a lot of work. Although in the server side we're not going to be drawing the textures when we start the server, even though we are calculating the positions for everything we want in our world and sending that to the players, such as this tree or that tree or this pebble, as well as these stones you can someday harvest. And we have the stick. This is a stick. Let's see. Local chunk. Harvestable. I should probably rename that to the environment, because that's what we have named this. The environment. Let's find some more relaxing music. It's a bit too, well, a bit too much. Maybe a house, I don't know. It's okay. Let's see. Environment, yes. Everything still works, I hope. Excellent. Did I not fix this? Yeah, I fixed this. Okay, that's good. And this is what I mean with seed. If you have two servers and you add the same seed, you're gonna get the same result on all the servers and the clients and whatnot. I like this seed. This is kind of good seed. It's kind of big, like a big lake right next to the spawn area. Oh my god. Let's increase the range. I'm curious to see how it looks like. Wow. This is a good seed. Yeah, it can build a, you know, little mansion or something here. Okay, let's see. We need to organize this a little better. I haven't done a great job of organizing the code at all. Like, what is this? Auto tiles, template auto tiles. I have no idea. I can probably delete that and get away with that. What else? We have environment, pebbles, rock, and so on. And I guess that's fine because it's categorized under the environment. Okay, let's see. What shall we name this? Chunk? Chunks? Chunky? Chunk. Chunk, I guess. We don't have chunk. And in here, we're gonna create a scene. That's gonna be the scene that contains the chunk data. Well, I guess we can name this chunk data or chunk. Yeah, I think I want to name this chunk because that's what this is. What we are using here is not a good name because this is not a chunk. This is the entire, well, all the chunks. So inside chunk, I'm going to create a new scene called a chunk piece. Yeah, that should be understandable. Let's see, what is this going to be? I'm thinking position 2D is a no 2D. It's fine. Let's name this chunk piece. Let's save that. And this chunk needs some scripts. So let's make that script. What does this chunk need? Well, oh my god. Thank you, Mr. Just Born, for rating with 3 viewers. I appreciate that. And welcome. So what have you been doing today? From Godot Devstream to Godot Devstream. Yes, that's the way to go. We are doing chunk loading today. We are optimizing the existing chunk loading. And in case you don't know what that is, it's just procedural generated world. Imagine, well, I hate to say it, but imagine Minecraft, except flat, and not Minecraft at all. But then you have an idea what I'm talking about. Generation. It's infinite. We're creating an infinite world, which will be a role-playing game, which is amazing. Hold on, let me show you the amazing stuff we have here. Let's see if I can't sell you guys this. Let's run the server. And let's play with the clients. Let's get the client up. Hopefully I didn't break anything. Usually, I notice that every time I get raided, it's in the middle of me trying to fix something that is irreversible. But luckily today, it seems to be working. So this is a multiplayer game, by the way. It's inspired. It's going to be inspired. The combat from Hotline Miami, mixing city management such as SimCity with economy and all that. You want to build, you know, buildings. So as the first players on the server, you would have to cooperate in order to harvest an immense amount of materials in order to build your first city by building a town hall. Once you build a town hall, you will have access to other things. City management tools that allow you to elect a mayor for that city. And that mayor will have immense powers to choose and rule the city with an iron fist or a soft glove, depending on who you are, I guess. And having done that, you will be able to join a city. If I'm a new player, finding a city that is made by one or more other players, I can choose to, you know, become a citizen of that city. Or not. I mean, you can visit, why not? But if you do choose to become a citizen, you will have certain perks, just as getting a monthly income statement. If you're unemployed, you'll still have some money to live. This is not America, don't worry. This is whatever you want this to be. Actually, I cannot promise that either, because imagine if the mayor decides to not give out any unemployment checks. In that case, it will be a less incentive to join the city, I guess, initially. But you know, you can set up a shop, you know, you can do whatever you want. You can decide to, you know, set up a furniture shop if you want to. I mean, you can just go out in the forest, chop a lot of wood, you know. Learn some crafting, become great at, you know, building benches, park benches for your city maybe, I don't know. And maybe someone wants to buy it, maybe not. I think I wrote a, yeah, I do have a pitch, hold on, give me a second. Give me a second to write a little thing on the Twitch chat, if I can find Twitch chat. Let's see. We're about 3 weeks in on this project, by the way. Everything you see is 3 weeks old. Here it is, my more in-depth description of what I'm doing. If you're interested in Godot Engine, multiplayer development, as well as server and client separation, so you don't have to mess with the server call on your clients, because that's usually messy and a bother to work with. But you also want to do such a thing as adding inventories, you know, crafting, infinite world generation, you know, learning how to store data, how to get data, all of that. If you follow along with this, you'll probably get a lot of info about that. And we'll learn together, because I don't know the answers. I have no answers. I'm learning as we go. Let's see, if I can't find myself, oh my god. What's up? Where am I? I am at 0-0, and this player here is far away. Oh my god. I have to go a long distance in order to get home to spawn. But yeah, once I get far enough, I will be providing this game in the browsers for anyone to just jump in and try out for himself. And judge harshly, I would assume. So, what I was working on before I got so rudely disturbed, you know. I was working on separating the chunks a little more better than what I'm right now. Right now, it's not very cleverly done. It works fine. There's no lag, there's no issues. However, it can be improved even further and making it even more maintainable than it is now. So further on, when we keep adding more information per chunk, per area, per zone, you know, call it what you will. Each chunk may have more things than what we have right now, such as trees and rocks and pebbles and a background. Now that blue thing is supposed to be water. So someday when you go here, you're gonna suddenly fall into the water and be swimming. Or drown. I mean, it's your choice. If you want to drown, I'm not gonna stop you. That's the point of this game. It's a free role-playing game. The power goes to you. There's no in-game restrictions that will tell you or force you not to do something. If there's a mechanic for it, and we add it, any player will be able to do it. If you're familiar with Gary's mod, I don't know. Some people have may have negative association with Gary mod's role-playing mods. I don't know if you have tried it, but essentially, in Gary mod, which is a 3D game engine where you can easily create mods and have fun with other players with. In that game, you are able to join role-playing servers. And on those servers, you usually have, you know, things such as jobs, you have a salary, you know, and you have the freedom to do whatever you want. You can join a server, you know, get to know with other players, finding out how to earn money by working or perhaps growing weed and selling illegal drugs. And that's also something we're gonna add in this game at some point. I suspect shortly after we get the inventory mechanics as well as the server-sided, you know, protection, making sure no one can cheat and all that, we'll probably start working on some basic functionalities such as adding jobs, adding, you know, items that does special things, you know, growing plants. I still cannot find myself. Where am I? Okay, I'm at minus. Oh, I went too far. Oh crap. I need to go top left now. No, wait. Down right. By all means, ask if you have questions. You know, I don't mind. And once the 2-week session is over, I will be going back to making a few videos, assuming I have enough material to make videos, tutorials from. I usually make tutorials from time to time on YouTube. I haven't done it in quite a while now, because I'm busy with work and I haven't quite figured out what I want to do in my life, pretty much. But having worked with this now for about 1 month straight, every day, plus minus a few days, like 1 or 2 days I think, in this entire month I wasn't online. I will be, you know, teaching you, showing you how you can create your own procedural generation, how you can set up your own multiplayer, you know, connection the way I would. Now there are tutorials online. You can probably find a lot of tutorials about certain issues and, you know, things to do. But I'm still gonna do it my way, you know, how I would do it, how I would teach it, you know. So by all means, visit YouTube if you want to know more. I think I can. Did I add this? Yeah, I did add it. Haha, cool. Ah, yes. A gun. Big E to pick me up. This was the first entity we made on World. We made a gun in order to figure out how to handle the, well, communication between the client and server. Because right, what you're seeing right now on the right side and left side are just clients. They have nothing to do with the server, except talking to the server. And the server itself, well, it has its own code, it has its own logic to handle all of this. So when I want to pick up a gun, what's happening? And the client asks the server if this client can pick up the gun. The server then validates this, you know, making sure the player is actually nearby the weapon and can pick it up. So if I were to cheat on the client side, for example, and try to pick it up from here, well, the server's gonna detect it and log it as a possible cheat attempt. I don't know if we're gonna do something about that just yet. We may end up kicking the player if we want to go, you know, strict, or, you know, whatever. It's up to the moderators of the server to decide what to do, I guess. So we'll probably add some sort of, well, some sort of push notification for the moderators in the server. So when a player has been tagged as a possible cheater, we're gonna get a message. Boop, boop. This player is suspected for manipulating the item pickup range, something like that. I don't know. We also have speed hack validation. So if you're trying to speed hack on this game, guess what? Not gonna work. We're gonna find you. We're gonna catch you. You're gonna get banned from the moderators, or I mean, if they want. There's not gonna be an in-game mechanic to stop you from doing anything, with the exception of possible cheating. But even that may be a configuration somewhere at the server side. So you know what to do if a player is suspected from speed hacking. You want to kick, you want to ban, or do nothing, or just warning. You know, that's up to you. But we have a lot of work remaining. There's a lot of many more steps to take. Let's see, where were we? We were setting up the server chunks. Let's turn off the server and get coding. Ah, yes, the chunk piece. The piece of the chunk. Well, it needs a position. I guess I can name this position. Even better, I can just use the position on the node 2D itself and use that data. Yeah, why not? I think that can work. I mean, I don't think that's more or less intensive than adding a variable called pause and store a vector 2 there. I don't know. I'm not sure. Then again, maybe it's a good idea to store the position name. What else do we need to store? Yeah, it already exists in the parent class. It won't allow me. Okay, fine. Well, a chunk has data, right? It has a lot of data. It has, well, environment data. We can store that into a string. Now that can contain, you know, nodes. It can contain other things. Yeah, probably nodes. The reference to the nodes, that would be fine. Because then when I delete this chunk, I can just automatically make sure to queue free the rest. So when we queue free is just the Godot. Well, some of you probably already know this, but queue free allows you to delete nodes safely from our scene tree. So it doesn't, you know, stay behind and it sticks to the memory, you know, like glue. We don't want that. Let's see. How about erase? Let's create an erase function on our chunk piece so we can remove our own selves. Well, I guess we can just do queue free on ourselves. But it may be a good idea to also make sure to clear the array, or at least iterate through the array. Let me take a look and see what queue3 does. Yeah, no, it's not gonna work there because the environmental data is not actually inside the chunk piece. The chunk piece is more of an object. Unless we want to make it a part of it as well. If that's the case, we may have to change the code a little bit. Because then every item, every tree, every stone, every axe on the floor in that chunk will be stored in that chunk. So on the scene tree on the left, we'll probably have, you know, stupid nodes that called tree or something. I don't know. We did also look at a example project, the YouTube video, which was quite nice to look at, about this chunk loading system in Godot by Nessie. I recommend you check it out if you haven't. If you want to learn more about chunk loading in Godot, it's a really good example. Let's see if I can't link it there. Oh, I had one too many at the end there. I think it still works. Let me try that one. Yeah, it works fine. And on this, we have also linked two scripts, one with C# and one with GD So what I'm looking at is this GD script file, in order to figure out how to optimize what we already have even better. And I don't know the answer to this. I'm still thinking. This is the part of the stream, figuring this out. Probably spending a few minutes in silence just thinking, you know? So this is the part of the code we want to replace, I think. This gives us the player tile position, which we use in turn in order to calculate the chunk X and Y position. And then we do a little trick in order to get the ends of that chunk positions, because we never want a chunk that has a 0 on either X or Y, because then we will not be able to support a negative direction. So this would be the ID of this chunk, the one we store as the position of this chunk, I believe. Well, this is the chunk the player is on, rather. Which also would be an ID of a chunk. So yeah, it's all the same. Let's see. Player chunk position, I guess should be a better name. Let's see if we can't rename that a little bit. And at the end we keep track of our previous chunk. So once we have loaded the chunks from the middle where we are, we then set the previous chunk to be our current position, so we can then compare and see if we have moved out of this chunk. So we don't necessarily load the same chunk over and over again. Yes. So in this function named calculate start and end, we are calculating two values. We're calculating the start and end, well, chunk coordinates, I believe. And those are used in order to calculate the area you are going to be drawing on the map. Right now we're doing this manually. We don't have any... Well, we don't have a chunk piece where we store the data. We just have everything pretty much at the same time organized. So for example, this would be one chunk, the bottom right chunk. And then we have bottom and bottom left. And this is when you move down, because when the Y direction is 1, it means we're going downwards on the monitor. And that also means we want to make sure to remove the top chunks. Because when we go down, we don't care about the top chunks anymore, because then we would have too much things in behind us we don't care about. And this will make sure we are always in the middle chunk. So every time we move, we're still in the middle, because we load the new data, delete the old one, load the new data, delete the old one. And this is it's not a bad way to do this actually. But my motivation to doing it the same way as Mr. Nesi have done is because doing it this way, having a chunk piece with data, it will make it way easier to maintain later on. Because look at this. Well, this in itself is not the bad part of removing a generous chunk, but the problem is happens in here. Because we may have a lot of things we want to instantiate on that chunk, such as rocks, trees, and what else. And doing it this way, we pretty much have to add everything in the same code. And I'm hoping to avoid this. I do have my stream recorded, Friendly Fox. You can find it in my YouTube playlist. It's a secret playlist. Well, it's not secret, it's visible, but the videos themselves are secret. So you're more than welcome to jump back in time and look at the first. Well, I would not recommend the first, because I was just trying to figure things out, and you know, third and fourth and onwards, and you keep learning about networking, setting up Godot network server, buying and so on. I believe in first several videos we watched multiple tutorials on YouTube by a what's the channel, Game Dev Center. Let me see if I can't find it. Yeah, I think you can find it right here. Hey, no problem, Friendly Fox. Don't forget to follow on Twitch if you have a Twitch account, by the way. I need to move people on Twitch. I will be keeping my recording on YouTube forever. But I suspect at some point I will have to stream to Twitch first and then move videos to YouTube, you know, after 24 hours or so. And that will allow me to add, you know, fun stuff, you know, such as games and points and all that stuff. So where were we? Generate chunk. So the start and the end chunk calculation is multiplied with the chunk size. Frankly, I suspect this is not entirely correct, even though it works. And what I mean is, I suspect that the values and the naming of this is not correct. Because it doesn't make sense to multiply the start with the chunk size. Unless we're talking about the width of the chunk, in which case it should probably rename to, well, chunks. Well, maybe it's right, I don't know. For some reason, when I read chunk size, I think chunk, you know, size, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking. Probably am. I need a drink. Well, it's empty. All my cups are empty. I need to get something. I'll take a 1-minute break and I'll be right back. Please don't panic. There's no time for riots right now. Okay. I appreciate that, friend of Flux, if you're still here. I mean, I appreciate it even if you're not there, but I'm just saying it. That's it. That's good stuff. Okay. Let's see. Is it worth fixing this? How am I going to do that? Okay. Because I may have to rework a lot of this if I am to hopefully improve on this. Maybe it's too early to do that. Oh, let me look at the example project. Our friend Nesi's project. We have. I mean, look at this. This looks so good. It looks so well made. I would love to be able to do something like this. Ignore the spaces. I was messing with the code. Where is the yeah, the chunk size? I don't get the chunk size though. Maybe it's something broken with it. Something I don't know. But yeah, like this. I like the way he has handled this right here, which also allows you to increase the render distance. Did he change this? What happened if I change to 5? Okay, nothing, I guess. What does that do? Nothing? I don't know what it does. I guess it does something somewhere. Well, whatever it is, apparently it doesn't matter. Okay, well, that doesn't matter then. That's strange. Well, okay, let's remove that one. Let's see what will happen here. Multiply by 2 plus 1. What is render bounds? I don't know. I don't understand this. What if I set 1? What happens? Okay, well that's that's not what I wanted. So how are we doing this? For X range render bounds. Render bound. What is a render bound? The render bound is the width of the render distance. Yeah, render distance of 2 will multiply by 2 to make it 4. Plus 1, which makes it 5. Chunks on the X and Y axis with a render distance of 2. Let me undo the mess I have made here. Render bounds. If the render bounds equals to 5, it means render distance is 2. 3. Then x minus 3 equals minus 2, which is the x coordinate in the chunk space. What? What x is this? This is the chunk coordinate. Is this each chunk coordinate? Okay, let's print this. Let's find out what this is. What do we print when you do this? My Twitch username, it is Ivan Scotia. Same as this one. I hope this works. I can't tell if it's working or not. I think it's working. Hey, no problem. There are many that's new to Twitch. Although I don't think there are many that's new to YouTube though. I think pretty much every Twitch user knows about YouTube. Twitch is just a streaming platform, which is well, more refined, I would say, than YouTube's platform. I would also say there are also a lot more viewers on Twitch than... Oh my god. Thank you for following. My god. I need to increase. I need to decrease the volume. It's shouting in my ears. Oh my god. Can I get the? Soroif 33. I didn't get to see the text. So we were trying to print the chunk coordinate. We need to learn this. Let's find out how this works. What are we printing? What are we printing? Oh my god, why are there so many suddenly? What did I do? That's so cool. I want to be able to do this. This is so cool. And if I do it this way, I might be able to decrease the chunk size even further and make it even more customizable. I really like that. It's really, really cool. Let's see, how does this work? Why is it suddenly so many more? Did I change this from 2 to 3? Okay, what if I try 1? Oh, okay, cool, it does something. So 1 is the smallest distance. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So this is the distance from our current chunk. So 1 is 1, you know, 1 out. Cool, cool. Okay, can I try this? How do I do this? Let's see if we can understand the code a bit more. What do we do in the for loop? For x in range that and y in range that, we get these values. Now this seems to be all the chunk positions. What I don't quite understand is how they calculated. Render bounds divided by 2 plus current chunk, which is set where? Where's current chunk set, I wonder? Hey, I appreciate that, Soroif. I'm glad to hear that. I hope to keep doing that in the future. Once the 2-week has passed for our second iteration of this project, I'm gonna take a few days break. Imagine a few days without Twitch, without streaming on YouTube. And during that time, I'm going to be reflecting on the project that we have been working on for so far, which will be 4 weeks by then. And see what can I take out? What lessons can I take out from this project? And share with the world? I don't know. Probably chunk. I'm thinking chunk loading, but I will make it more understandable than this. I don't understand this yet, so I cannot teach this until I understand this. You know. I mean, I know it works, and that's fine. But why does it work, and how does it work, and how is it put together? It's like getting a Lego piece and trying to figure out how it's put together. You know. I wonder what a render bounds and yeah, what's a render bound? What is that? That's the tree? It is tree. Oh. Okay, that's pretty straightforward then. So this is the matrix. When I say matrix, I don't mean a movie, by the way. Let me open our amazing drawing app. Sorry about that. I probably knocked your head out of your headphones. I apologize. Let's see if I can't get this tablet I'm running. There we go. Our drawing pad. Yes. So how does this work? Well, let's assume initially we want a 3x3 chunk area around us, you know? So when we spawn, if I can get the right color. When we spawn, we expect to be spawning in the middle square, somewhere in the world. So wherever we are in the world, we will be spawning in the middle, always. Would you say that GD native is worth using in Godot? I can honestly not tell you. For me, probably not so much, because I do not need to make such intricate changes to behavior or add such intricate behaviors, you know? It may be beneficial if I wanted to improve on networking and whatnot, or make it fit to my game. But other than that, I would not make any game with that, if that's what you're asking me. But if you know C++ and you know you're willing to learn and dive into that and see if you can't, you know, get a few samples up and running, I mean, try it out. Maybe you'll find that it suits you. For me, it doesn't suit me. So the chunk size, right? We spawn in the world. I don't know what world it is. Let's say you're in the middle of a forest. Coordinate -3,6. So that's the ID of this chunk, wherever you're spawning. This is the calculation we get from that position. Now the world position may be, you know, very different than this chunk position. The world position may be something like, I don't know, -760, you know, positive 1007 or something, I don't know. But the world position we don't care about. All we want to do is get the player position and turn that into the chunk position. And that's the way we have been doing it so far. We use the player and calculate the from and to on each of these chunks, and then we build each and one of these chunks separately. And at the end of each build, from top left to bottom right, we then end up with, you know, built maps all the way around the player. And then at the end, we then run a bit mask update on everything, so everything overlaps. So you want to get hard borders, you know, in the map, and that would look strange, you know? That's not what you want. However, we then looked at the example from Nesi, I believe. And they're storing all the data in chunks, and I like that way better than what we are doing right now. Even though what we're doing works. And it probably would work fine for a long time until our code base gets overly complicated, and that's the part I'm a little afraid of. And that's one of my motivations for doing this. So instead of doing it this way, which I have just explained on this little drawing tablet. By the way, can you see the entire... Yeah, you can see it, even if we move left to right, that's good. So, what we are gonna change is, we're not gonna do it this way. We're not gonna load all the data and then set it and send all of this to the client, you know. We want instead to calculate each node individually, you know. It's its own thing. So this is a node instead of just a, you know, instead of this being a list of things, we're gonna get a list of things as each square. So each square will has its own data, own trees, you know, its own stones, you know, and keep it in there. So whenever the player start moving down, we know what to unload. I don't need to send this information about the tree, the rock, the thing, and whatever. I just send a node name. Instead of sending a list of probably hundreds of entries, I will be sending a list of 3. Keep being 3 coordinates. Did you know that Tesla is hiring Godot developer? I did see that, and I was laughing a little bit. Does that mean I want to apply? No, I don't want. I have no ambition to work for a car company, innovative as they may be. I have my own dreams I'm gonna follow at some point. I'm still working, you know, and I'm happy with my current job. I don't want to leave it anytime soon. In fact, I'm very happy with my current job. I'm so incredibly lucky to have the job I have right now, even though it's not game development, you know. This is what I would do basically if I didn't have to get paid. I would do the game development, you know. But you know, you have to make a living, and I'm very happy with the way I make a living. So yeah, let's go back to coding and out of the drawing. We need to create these pieces, and at the end, we still have to do the, you know, render mask update on each one of them. But then, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to that. So what you do here, you get the render bounds, which is value of 3, using a render distance times 2 plus 1, which gives you 3. Yeah, it's just a formula. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. No, we can do that. That's fine. Let's see if we can't make something here. Let's. How are we gonna do this? Should we create a new scene for this test? Currently, we've been, you know, working with this scene here, which works the other way. Maybe it's a good idea to make a separate scene. Yeah, I think that's a good way. That way we have both scenes to compare. We can even do speed tests on them, you know? Take a look at the debugger and go to the network profile, not the profile, the monitors, and see what happens and analyze this a little bit with the old way and the new way. So let's create a new node. We did already create the chunk piece, so I guess we can also add the other things in the same folder. Let's, what should we name this? This new and improved chunk loader. Chunk loader, that's a good name. Have I taken that name somewhere? I feel like it's taken. I don't know why. By the way, yeah, learn Godot and apply for Tesla if you want. That would be really cool. We need to turn Godot into... We need to get an industry to use Godot at some point, so we get more support for Godot. Financial support, and as a result of that, more development support. You know, more contributions, more improvement, more features. Yeah, I still feel like chunk load is taken. I don't know. Why do I do that? Is that taken somewhere? Oh. Apparently not. The name was so good. That's why I thought about it. That it was taken. But it's not. So let's see. Where is my world? There it is. Hold on. I'm missing something. I'm messing around. This is the client. Let's see. I was one of the first people who used Godot at 1.0. Cool. Really, that's a long time now. How many years now? 6? Oh my god, I remember the good old times. Just before we hit Godot 2.0. My god, Godot has become so much better since that time. Like, even the interface is so much better. Just the coloring, the recoloring, I think is way better now than before. And it's gonna improve. And just improve. Yeah, let's add it here. Let's create a... let's save the chunk loader there. Let's make this in Node 2D for now and see if we can keep it. Now where did this go? There it is. Okay. So our chunk loader needs some script, needs some code. Chunk loader GD. What do we want to do? Well, we do want some information like we discovered. We couldn't find tutorial, then I found my channel. Oh my god. Ah, the good old times. If only I had stuck with it. I stopped making tutorials just when I get a job. My first full-time job as a developer. Right after college. That's when I really stopped making videos for probably 2-3 years. So you, yeah. It's not that I didn't want to do it, I was just preoccupied, you know, learning coding, focusing on my occupation, making sure I, you know, do a good job. Let's look at the example route again. We do want the render distance. I'm gonna take that name. By default, it'll be a 3 times 3, which is 1. So 1 from center. Yeah, no, I realized that as well, and I'll probably add, and actually I will guaranteedly add also other development videos on the channel as well, not just Godot. And I have been doing that, you know, on and off a little bit. But I feel a bit bad of not doing enough Godot. So I'm happy I got back to this, you know, doing streams a few hours a day, every day. Then guess what? I'll progress. I'll someday have something that we can, you know, something that resembles a game. The game of my dream, pretty much. That's what I'm working on now. No more side project. This is the project. The one project to rule all the projects. There, the calendar. Let's see, I'm curious how they instantiate the world. What are they doing? They get the player. They get the player chunk and they load the chunks. Okay, well, you know, that's fine. What did we do in our code? Well, populated the GUI values, which is the nice interface we have. We populated the world dictionary, which contains the values of all of these things. We build a noise profile. Yeah, we need to do that as well, because we want to randomly generate something. We don't want to just load squares when you move. We also want to, draw something. But the question is, should I do that there or somewhere else? Because we need to decentralize that responsibility. And I'm wondering, is chunk load the right place? Probably is the right place. It feels like the right place. Let's copy these values. For now. And see if we can clean it while we work on this. Now this is the seed information. This will change from server to server. Well, maybe except this one. This may be something hard-coded. I don't know yet. But at least these values will be editable. So you can get the world you desire. But this specific seed information is for a biome. A grasslands biome. So I'm thinking maybe we need to take this one step away. You know? What if you create a biome node? Should it be a node at all? Or should it be more of a category of nodes, Now if we do procedural generation, the way it works... Let's go back to the drawing board. Yay. When we generate a noise, we get like a lot of random numbers and whatnot. And using those numbers, we can draw a map. So this could be, for example, a mountain because it's a high altitude. And this could be, the water because it's a low altitude. And this is all using a one noise profile. So then you configure that noise profile. Why am I drawing when I can just show you? If I run this, it should be working just fine. So this information right here, this is one biome. All this configuration is for one biome, with the exception of chunk size, which will be probably universal. And then you can set the range on your client itself. So if you want to load more chunks, maybe we'll allow that. I don't know. Although we may not do that because it's a top-down game, and it doesn't make sense why we load more chunks. That doesn't make sense. So you're probably not going to be able to change this. But the seed, the octaves, the period, the persistence, and lacunarity, which I believe is like pooling. Yeah, like this. So low value means more, big roundness. So when we want to create a new biome, I would play around with this. Let's say we want a lot of water. What can we do? Well, in theory, I could keep the same values. I mean, I don't need to change this to get more lake. What I would instead change, if I can get this to work, is the levels themselves. So I would increase the water level. It's freezing now, I don't know why. Maybe I loaded a bit too much. Let's increase the water level to 1 and see what happens. And increase the water level from dirt to, not 1, sorry, 0. 1 will be just a water world. 0, and let's try positive 0.38 and try and going from there. Let's try 0.5. Now we have a lot more water, but also a lot more dirt, and let's configure that. It's a bit too much dirt right now. Let's try 0.1 and increase the grass. There we go, that's better. Now this is a lot more, water. This is, what this reminds me of? This layout reminds me of Valheim. The game we played while working on the automated app using Java. Right? I mean, if you played Valheim, this would look sort of like this. That's kind of cool. We got the Valheim secret config. I like this. I may save this. Yeah, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna copy the world to clipboard and save this because I really like this layout as you know, more islands. I may want to increase the rock a little bit more though if they're gonna be islands. I have copied this to clipboard. Let's configure this a little bit. Let us, you know, change it a little bit. I noticed that there's something wrong with this one. Let's reduce this to 0.35. What the hell? Ah, now that's better. More rocky, you know, rocky terrain. Yeah, I like this. Copy this one. Let's save that so we don't lose it, so we can add later. Yeah, that's something that will be interesting to figure out. Something I'm a little worried about. How can I set up biomes like this? We will look at that. I think we're gonna look at that now. Because this is something we need to handle. We need to know how to do this. Otherwise we're gonna end up having to backtrack a lot later on. That's just a realization. So while we now also work on improving the chunk procedural rate, random chunk procedural generation. Oh my god. We may want to add biomes. And under biomes we add, well, you know, whatever we had before, you know, background and you know, entities and whatever. Let's put that to our to-do. We did fix this one. We are working on this right now. And later on we're gonna work on character interacting with entities and finish that. We did kind of start with that and we did find out how to do that. We just haven't done that yet. That's the problem by, you know, being a single developer working on one game on, you know, live streams. I can't do everything at the same time. Change the node key to be the same. Node key. Now these are for entities. Change the node keys on entities. Well, environment, I guess. So all of these is going to be happening later on. I suspect I may use 1, 2, possibly 3 streams on just figuring this. Hopefully not more than one. More than today. What time is it? Yeah, we're gonna, you know, we'll go for about 15 more minutes. By the way, if you're watching this and you haven't followed, why? Please follow. I need followers so I can get motivated. So I can do this every single day. So every week, if you just jump by every week, for example, if you don't care about, you know, watching every day, and that's fine. I mean, who would watch this every day? That you would go insane. And I apologize for spamming my email inbox. I cannot turn that off if you're following. But if you do, you can jump in 1 week later. You can, you know, suddenly you remember, oh, Ivan Scottia is streaming. Oh yeah, what's he doing? Jump in and suddenly you see, oh, a game, and you can just try it just by going to the browser. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, I think it would be cool. I need to work on my pitch. I haven't quite figured that one out yet. So by the time next time you arrive, I'll probably have a better pitch. Grasslands. Yes. So this is going to be the island Valheim biome. Would you make a similar game without a game engine? What do you mean by that? I appreciate that, by the way, Poi. You don't have to watch every day. You would well, yeah. What do you mean? I'm curious. Would I make a similar game without a game engine? I would like to take pictures of this. Can I take a picture of this? Yeah, let's take pictures. Let's add a picture. Yes. save as. Let's see where I want to save this. Probably the same folder as readme, right? Is it readme to the client or server? This is a server readme. So it should be here somewhere. 1 second, please. Readme. Data backup docu. Here it is. Islands. Island? No, it's not islands. It's Valheim. It's pretty much Valheim. That's what I'm thinking about when I see this. I've been playing a lot of Valheim, so that's why I'm stuck thinking Valheim. Mountainous islands. I need a name for this. Anyone has any ideas? Islands. It's not island. This is an island. These are more like almost continents, I guess. I don't know. I guess I'll call it big islands? Big, long islands? Steve! I don't know about that. That's, I mean, you know, people can misunderstand, you know, if I have a Steve PNG on my computer. I don't think that's quite appropriate. Oh yeah, Minecraft. No, you think about the character name, right? Yeah, like this is a biome. What would you name this biome? Islands, long islands. Long islands. I don't know. I don't think Steve is a good name for the Long Islands. Cool. Long Islands looks like Valheim. Let's see. Let's add the image. The way I do that, I think it's an exclamation mark. What the hell? My keys is not working properly. Keep changing to the American layout, and that really annoys me. I think it's docs. Dash docs. Long Islands PNG. What's that name? Yeah, island. Simple. We can probably make a smaller. Yeah, this is a good idea. We should make one more biome so we have a deliberation, and then figure out how to transition between them. And that's what I'm kind of uncertain about, how that will work. I'm sure there are plenty of reasons. Maybe it's easy for all I know. I don't know. Now, where is the file? I have so big long. Yeah, let's just stuck with the Long Islands. Much water, Long Islands. Doku, not docs. Okay, doku. I mean, I guess docs. It's not really documentation either. It's more like, well, metadata. I may want to restructure this and add a data folder and add everything that's generated inside the data folder, so I can have another layer on top of this. Possibly, or I'll put the client and server in a single repository. That's something I have been writing down to do. Add both products into one repository to make it easier for us to maintain. I mean, my biggest reason for this is because of the big GitHub task. I have many tasks that extends over the client side and the server side. I cannot just set it on the server and leave that to belong there. I need to, you know, do it for both of them, and using GitHub is a pain with that. So therefore, maybe a single project. Maybe I'll add a single project for all of this. I don't know. I have no idea. Either way, I think we have a nice screenshot now. Let's undo that one and run it one more time. But this is our grasslands biome. It's pretty simple, you know, pretty green, a few water, you know, lakes here and there. Well, ponds, I guess. Yeah, greenlands. You have mountains, or you know, stony areas, not mountains, I guess. Stony areas. We'll probably add mountains and more levels like these later on to add a little more details to our world. But you know, it's not a big priority right now. Right now, we need to make a game first of all, before we start configuring it even further. But I do want a screenshot of this. That's what I really wanted. Let's see if I can't zoom out enough to get a screenshot. How far out was I on the other one though? I don't know. I'm lagging a bit because of the size of this is so big. That's okay. Take a picture. Top left, all the way down. And using these pictures, I will have nice materials and content to show off the amazing biomes we have so far. So this is the grasslands, PNG. Very simple, you know. Readme, there it is. Let's copy this one and add it here. So when I commit this, we'll look at that. We'll take a look at this and see if it will work. Grasslands. I'm gonna commit this. Server. We're gonna hopefully get a nice overview of what we have. So we have biomes, grasslands. Let's not name biomes. Let's just write grasslands. Long islands. And these are the data, the setup in order to get the result we want, as well as the picture to show off what we have. Let's remove that one. Tree spawning. What is that? Ah, yes, the setup for tree spawning. Let me play that one and see if it looks good or not. If it you know, will unfreeze. Kinda frozen right now. Let me restart the server. There it is. Let's see if we can load this. Paste in the JSON, load the world, and here you go. These are the trees. These are the noise values that we have decided to use, you know, to get the little squares where we would want to place trees. This is it. Using the same, you know, same thing. So you may want to change that if you wanted to add, like, let's say, you know, stones. Because we may want not them to look like trees and be more like closer together, like chunks, perhaps. Let's try to change this a little bit and see if we can get some good result. We would, you know, something we want. Minus, let's start with 0 and let's go up a little bit. You know what? Let's use the stone levels because there's the stone we want, right? 0 to 0.2. Let's try that. Well, they're definitely more closer together. But they are a bit too close together. Because if this was a little patch of stone area, it would look like this inside that little patch of stone area, and that's too close. We have to improve a little bit. How about reducing the lacunarity? That didn't seem to do much. How about increasing the persistency to 25? Well, still not good enough. How about the period? How about 5? No. Okay, let's try increasing it even further then. Ah, here we go. This looks kinda interesting. What can this be? I don't know. But they're a little better now. They're a little more separate. At the same time, they're a little more, you know, put together. What happens if I change the stone level a bit? Ah, interesting, interesting. Okay, so now we can kind of see like stone patches, but they're still too connected. Hello, Glenn. Welcome back. You got bored of the other streams? I'm joking. We are still working on this. Right now, I am trying to figure out the biomes and fixing up our chunk loading a little bit. Because I have learned that the way we're doing things can be way better and easier to maintain, and that's what I want to do with this. So right now I'm trying to figure out what noise to use for this stone generation on our mountains. And this, while it looks really cool and all, it's too connected. It's too much hooked up. So we need more variation. We need to increase the octaves. Period. I'm not sure which one we need to increase, to be honest. Okay, well, I think it's this one. Let's configure this one, see if we can get the result we want. Diner and showering. Ah. Speaking of diner, I think I'm gonna eat soon too. Let's see. I want to figure this out first, though. I want to figure out the noise profile for our rocks. Yeah, it's too close. Let's reduce it back to the randomness we had before. Ooh. What happens if I increase this to 9? Ah, smiley face! We got a smiley face from the world. That's kind of cool. But that's not what I... that's not what I want. Oh my god. There are many faces here. The screams of the damned. Maybe this is like Hades, the underworld. And then that could be the lava around it. This could be like lava lake or something. We'll get there, don't worry, we'll get there. We're gonna add all the crazy stuff. Okay, let's try something else. Persistence. What does that do? What if I remove that? Ooh, okay, that's a little better, I think. What if I increase this? That's the smiley face again. Okay, how about 0? What happens then? Yeah, I think I like this. They're chunked together. Let's reduce the level of stone. Ooh, holes. How much can we reduce this? 0.05. Okay, basically they're getting thinner. This seems to be the line itself, which I'm not a fan of. How about the period? Let's reduce that one. Yeah, I want more like this almost, but I want them to be more together, you know? Can I do that? What if I increase this to 0.2? Okay, here we go. We're getting closer to something. How about 1? Interesting. Yeah, the period I think is too small. Let's try increasing to 11, see what happens. Yeah, this is fine tuning. This is not easy. How about 0.5? What do we get? Okay, well that's not a lot. Let's go back to 0 again. To 0. I don't know, 0.2. What else? How else can we randomize this? Octaves. Oh, interesting. There we go. Now we're getting close to something. This seems more like randomized chunks. So if this was on an island or on a mountain, it would be possibly a little better. It's a bit hard to tell at this point. But you can see the amount that was together. Like I want something like this. Now, this would be a stony patch you would mine. And same with this. Maybe this is okay. Maybe. How about reducing it a little bit? 0.5? I want it more round. A little more round. Ooh. No, it's not the right direction. Yeah, this is more the right direction, like this. But it's still a bit too much. How about 0.1? Ah, okay. That's better. I mean, it's a bit too thin in the lower areas there. Okay, how about 0.015? It's worse. This is not too bad, but I don't like these many loops. Loopy loops. Ah, here we go. Yeah, this is better. I think we can use this. I wish I could spread this more apart. Can I do that? Can I do that? They're more apart, but at the same time, there's you know, that's not too bad. If the, you know, let's reduce the size a little bit. Let's make it full. Maybe this is okay. This could possibly be okay. Because on the mountain you would have like a stone. Well, crap. You know what? I don't think I'm gonna figure this one out today, so I'm gonna end that one. And we'll get back to that. We need to add a stony area at some point and separate that. But we have two biomes right now. We have grasslands and long isles. We need to figure out how to add them together. So our current to do is figure out how to merge two biomes together. And I believe we need to use a single noise map for that itself. So if a noise is below 0.5, grass. If it's above 0.5, the islands, you know, and then to find a way to smoothen it out. And that's really the issue. We have read an article that covers exactly what we are trying to do. Well, not that one. Somewhere we have an article. I think it's this one. Possibly. Oh my god. Yes, this is the one. This is a really good article. Let's see if I can find the segment where it talks about exactly what we're trying to do. Here it is. So the first noise profile we're creating is for the biomes. So for example, if the value is above 0.5, the biome will be mountains. If it's below, it will be forest. I'm thinking we can use something like this. And this is the altitude noise. This is the noise we're using right now. The one that is the biome, the contents of that biome, you know. I believe. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, the altitude is water. It's the grass, dirt, and mountains. You know, on those biomes. So to my understanding, we can kind of merge them together. I could be wrong. I still have to figure this out. I haven't figured this out yet. Let's see. Yeah, we have to figure this one out. I will not be able to do that today. We'll continue this tomorrow after my job. So about the same time today. And then we will figure out procedural generation. And see if we can't improve it what we have. With a new one. By Nesi, I believe. Was it Nesi? Yeah, Nesi. Check him out if you haven't already. He has a really nice video about chunk loading in Godot, which has inspired me to read what we have been doing so far in the game, which isn't, you know, it works. It's all good. If I didn't break it. Let's run the client to make sure everything works before we end today. The client is right here. Let's run it in the browser. I like the browser. The browser makes everything easy. Easy to test, easy to share, and so on. Let's connect to Ivan, or connect as Ivan on the left side and guest on the right side. Let's see if we can't meet ourselves. I'm close to 0. I'm close to... Oh my god, I'm so far away. Oh jeez. So I'm going to be cheating. I'm going to do a little cheat. Teleport. And the way I do that is, first I log out. I then open Postman. I'm gonna get the player I'm gonna alter, which is myself, Ivan. So I'm just gonna copy this. Go to update. And then set these coordinates to be 0, 0, and hopefully that will work. So now when I log in, I expect to be at where I want to be. Hopefully. Yay, it works! I'll be adding a console in the game so we can edit the position directly. Okay. I don't know why I decided to jump up there, but it did. So yeah, everything seems to work correctly still. Ah, excellent. So when other players go under the tree, you can still watch them on the left side, and that's what we want. Because after all, if someone goes under a tree on our level, you would see them. It's not like they will disappear like, hey, where'd you go? Unless there's a bush, we may add bushes you can hide in. And jump out and shoot. Dead Frontier 2D, let me search that up. I have not heard of it, and if this is something similar, then I would love to watch this and take some inspiration from this. Ooh. God Frontier, can I... MMO? No, this is not it, right? This is the new one? Yeah, no, this is not it. This is the... So, if you're bored, I want to play DF2D again. Da, da, da. I don't know if I trust this page. But I'll check this out. Thank you for telling me about this one. I'll check it out until tomorrow, and hopefully, if I can get this to work, I'll probably see if I can note some inspiration we can take on our own game once we get that far. But until then, I'll end the stream for today, and I hope you all join me next time. And remember to follow if you haven't, so you can, get notified, or subscribe if you're on YouTube. And then you can watch the, playlist. So have a nice day, everyone, and thank you all for joining today. I appreciate that a lot. How long have you been running today? You've been running... 3 hours. That's a good one. Run made by one person. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's my idea with this game, by the way. If this prototype works well, and people like this, and we finish making this game, I would love to make a 3D type of game that has a similar kind of functionality. Because I have not found a single game that does what I want this game to do. But enough about that. Thank you all for joining and have a good day. Don't forget to eat, food.